mean, when you have Mahomes, Kelce, and then Big Red, my guy Andy Reid, operating on your team, dude, you're destined for great.
What's up, fantasy football friends? Today we are going to be predicting the fantasy landscape of Thursday Night Football. But first, we have some news.
Yes. Light news today, guys. Kenneth Walker, RB1. Kind of knew that was already happening. Charbonnet, though, is listed as the RB3, so kind of interesting there. Something we'll have to see play out. I still think Charbonnet is a good handcuff. DJ Dallas is going to be the passing down guy, so third down, he's probably going to come in. You'll probably see him and Charbonnet start out splitting snaps. That's just my prediction. Charbonnet, I can see easily taking over that RB2 role. Kenny Walker, guys, he's the RB1 there. Doesn't make me any more confident because I feel like we all kind of knew that was already happening. Nonetheless, something to watch throughout the season if you're an owner of either of them. Moving to Los Angeles, the Rams. Guy I've mentioned now in over a few of our videos, Puka Nacua, with Kupp being practically ruled out week 1 now. Vay comes out and says that Puka Nacua will be an immediate contributor, so we will likely see him. I would expect to see him in 2 wide receiver sets just because he is a bigger guy. I know they have Ben Skoranek and Tutu Atwell there. Obviously, Van Jefferson's the wide receiver 1 in that offense with Kupp out. So guys, Puka Nacua, someone who, if you've already drafted, I would certainly encourage to go pick him up. If you have someone kind of irrelevant just sitting at the very end of your bench, I would go get Nacua right now. We know Sean McVay likes to have an open offense. We know we're going to see passing volume there. Puka Nacua, guys, someone that I think is a big sleeper. Go get him right now.
Unfortunate about Kupp, but we proceed. Quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, to start off this video, finished last season as quarterback 1, number 1 in our rankings.
Number 1 in everything.
First in passing yards, first in touchdowns, Super Bowl champion. You're going to be starting Patrick Mahomes, without a doubt.
No brainer. I think we all remember that 2018 game, the 54-51 Rams-Chiefs game.
Crazy game.
Now, I don't think we're going to see exactly that, but I do think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Moving over to Goff for Detroit, I think he's also a start. 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year. Guys, throwing 35 passes a game, top 5 accuracy rating. So I think Jared Goff, guys, is going to have a good game. I think with Chris Jones being out, he's in a contract holdout right now. Their defensive line is looking very bleak right now, and we know Detroit's strength on offense is their offensive line. With Chris Jones not being there to push that pocket like we all know he does, all pro last year, I think Jared Goff is going to have great time to sit back there. We saw Charles Omenihu, who the Chiefs signed this offseason, is also suspended for the first 4 games. So guys, Jared Goff's going to have some time to sit back there in that pocket, dissect that defense. We know that the offense is explosive. Added LaPorta and Gibbs to give him more receiving options. Start him. Moving over to running backs, guys. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs is my guy. That's who I'll be talking about in this segment. I think he's going to see plenty of work in the passing game. That's why they drafted him. Dan Campbell came out and said that they're going to use him in ways not expected. Not too sure what that means, but to me, I'm expecting to see him in the slot, maybe out wide. You'll get to Montgomery, but I think we're going to see both of these guys on the field at the same time fairly often. We saw that last year when Swift was healthy a lot with Jamal Williams. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a great start. Obviously, guys, you're drafting him in the 3rd round. Typically, that's where his ADP is right now. So I'm looking around 15 touches. He's going to get schemed touches, guys. So it's going to be plays that are directly made for him. I think in the passing game, you're going to see swing passes, screens. If he's lined up in the slot, you're going to see quick passes to him. Let him operate in the open field like we know he does. So I think, guys, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to give you a great first outing. Start him.
Yeah, absolutely amazing fantasy upside with Jahmyr Gibbs. We've talked about his PPR value as well.
Again, this is going to be an open game, so I think we're going to see a lot of passing.
David Montgomery, as you mentioned, is who I'm going to be talking about. You kind of know what you're getting from David Montgomery at this point in his career. RB24 last year, so just snuck in as a running back 2. I don't think he's going to see a lot of passing down work or be a big target in the passing game. 34 receptions last year. Nothing much to see there. Yeah. You're really kind of hoping for a touchdown if you're starting David Montgomery. And me personally, I would only flex him if I had to.
Absolutely, if you only have to.
Yeah, so he's getting drafted in the 7th and 8th round. So you probably picked him as your RB3 or RB4. If you're in a standard format, I guess you could elevate him to flex position. I'd recommend in a PPR format, go with a wide receiver, not David Montgomery. The touchdown upside's there, and I think he sees a lot of the low yardage work. So 3rd and short, goal line, that type of stuff.
I think Gibbs and Montgomery, I think we could see a similar workload overall in terms of touches between the two. But with Chris Jones being out, that force in the middle for that Kansas City defense, we could see favorable work for Montgomery. But as you said, I'm not looking to start him. Only flex him if you absolutely have to, guys. Moving over to Kansas City's running backs. I'll start with Jerrick McKinnon. I think he's going to have the same role as last year, guys. Passing back, you're going to see him in on third downs. It's going to be interesting because, and I don't want to steal everything you're about to say, but with the splits we saw last year in the postseason, that's going to be something to watch play out this upcoming season with him and Pacheco. McKinnon does excel in pass protection, so that's why they like him on those third down roles, obvious passing situations. He is first and foremost a receiving back, and then he's also a great blocker. He knows the calls. He knows what Mahomes wants from his running backs in that department. I see him as likely to be touchdown dependent. Again, guys, I think this is going to be a high flying game, so he could see upwards of 5 to 6 targets, somewhere in that range. I wouldn't look to start him. I'd like to see what that split looks like first and foremost. A guy that you only flex if you absolutely have to. I'm going with another receiver on a different team if you have that option in your team. 9 receiving touchdowns over the course of the season, which is crazy because he only has 16 for his career. So a guy that's electric, but not looking to start him right now.
You saw in the postseason, Pacheco was really their guy. Spark plug for the Chiefs. You saw a lot of times when their offense was dwindling or couldn't get a lot going, it was Pacheco with a 20-yard run, Pacheco with a 15-yard run afterwards, and then it's game over for the other team. Had just as many targets as McKinnon in the postseason with 7. He started to see a little bit of receiving work. If he can start cutting into McKinnon's receiving role, I think he ends up as a high-end running back too. Hard runner, absolutely hard runner. So guys he reminds me of, Rachaad White, Zeke in his prime, and Dante Foreman. All those guys are just hit the gap hard and will try to run you over. Derrick Henry as well. Another guy that I would have as an RB2, if he's in your flex, that's even better. Yeah. PPR formats, I'd pivot to wide receiver in the standard. I'm okay with playing Pacheco there. Lastly, we have a little bit of uncertainty about the Chiefs' backfield. You know there's points to be had, but who knows? It could be Clyde Edwards-Helaire again. So, guys, if you're going to be playing one of these two guys, as the season progresses, I think Pacheco's the guy that really steps up, and McKinnon's the guy that really takes a step back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. We really can't forget about CEH. I mean, I'm pretty confident with Pacheco. I think he's a good start regardless. Obviously, you'd like to see him as your flex rather than your RB2. He's a guy I think is going to get some points, get a lot of touches. Moving to the wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Pretty much the only relevant wide receiver for the Lions. Right now, you got Josh Reynolds, you got Marvin Jones Jr. They're obviously guys that we're not looking to start in our lineups. Hopefully, they're probably not even rostered in your league. Amon-Ra, guys, you're starting him. He's someone that you either drafted at the very bottom of the first or top of the second. Wide receiver 1 material. He's going to get fed targets, guys. He's a target hog. Chiefs secondary is solid, not great. They have L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie at corner. Again, guys, Jared Goff is going to have time in that pocket with Chris Jones out. They have a great offensive line. Amon-Ra is going to get targets. He should push double-digit targets on a game-to-game basis. He's probably the most no-brainer guy. Him and Mahomes are the most no-brainer guys in this game.
Yeah, I think that Jared Goff, even in this situation, is a no-brain start just because of the matchup.
Right.
Said there's defensive deficiencies right now in the beginning of the season for the Chiefs. Only is going to play into Goff's favor. So Skyy Moore is the wide receiver 1 in the Chiefs offense.
Yep.
Second year leap that we're looking for that we've talked about a little bit. He can be used in multiple ways, obviously as a receiver and as well as a gadget player. We know the Chiefs like to mix it up, give the defense different looks. Skyy Moore could be one of those guys that they go to make sure that they keep it new, keep it fresh. According to Steve Smith Sr., Ravens legend,
Panthers legend,
Skyy Moore will be a 1,200-yard receiver this year. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean, don't get me wrong, definitely possible. We saw there was a big hole that Tyreek Hill left. Obviously, Kelce stepped into that role last year. They had a bunch of different contributions from guys like Juju, MVS. But now, if he could be the guy to actually take that step and step up as the Tyreek Hill type of guy, 1,200 yards is easily doable. If you're playing Skyy Moore, I would flex him. Otherwise, keep him on your bench. As we said, there's going to be a lot going on. We don't exactly know how the Chiefs are going to be operating this year. Yeah. Flex him if you have to.
I think he's an interesting play because, like we're saying, we're expecting to see a lot of passing volume in this game. If he's operating as a wide receiver 1, which we know he is, I think he could be a good flex play. But again, one of those guys you'd almost rather play a guy that you're more sure about and then see what Skyy Moore does this game.
I think this game probably the first 2 games, but this game especially, we expect to see a lot of passing volume.
Right.
I think the targets going to Skyy Moore is going to be very important in this game.
So do I. I do think I feel good about him actually. If he was a guy I had on my team, I would actually feel good about playing him. So I'm very interested to see what he does this season because it was very underwhelming his rookie season. He's a guy we know has talent, 2nd-round pick. But guys, moving to another Kansas City receiver. Got some news on Kadarius Toney. According to Big Red, Andy Reid, he is good to go. Should be featured in 11 personnel, guys. So 3 wide receiver sets. Will be the odd man out in 12. So MVS and Skyy Moore are the top 2 receivers on that team. Someone I would certainly avoid starting right now is Kadarius Toney. I want to see him perform first. I want to see him play, get out there on the field. What is his usage going to be like? What is the snap share going to be like? He played a very key role in the Super Bowl. And then, guys, just another thing to hit on. MVS. I'm not starting MVS, Toney, or Rashee Rice. Just a little note on Rashee Rice because he's been one of my offseason darlings this year. Wide receiver 4 in the offense right now with Toney back in the fold. The GM has already said that Rashee Rice will start out as a rotational player. He's a guy that we could see really take a big step throughout the season if he becomes one of Mahomes' favorite targets. Skyy Moore and Amon-Ra St. Brown are the only 2 receivers we like in this matchup. And even then, we would say slightly temper your expectations for Skyy Moore. Moving right along to tight ends. My guy, Sam LaPorta, I'm telling you right now, you guys can come at me later after the game if it doesn't work out. I'm saying start Sam LaPorta. Operating as that number 2 wide receiver. I've said it again and again. They got Josh Reynolds and Marvin Jones, 2 guys that I'm not too big on. I don't think are going to take up a lot of volume. In this game alone, we will see a lot of volume passing wise. So I'm saying start LaPorta. He's been running with the ones all off season. He's really taken over that role. He's been working out with Jared Goff after practice. He's a guy that Goff loves, has become one of his primary targets, obviously. Training camp reports have been raving about him. And then he's going to be in the field in all situations, something I've talked about in some of our previous videos. He's a guy that knows how to block, a guy that knows how to catch the ball, can run with the ball. So someone that I like a lot just as an overall tight end. If you draft a tight end late, I would be confident in starting him. If you have an option above him, I don't mind you keeping him on your bench, but I do think he's going to have a lot of opportunity in this game.
Yeah, a guy you've been talking about a lot. Actually have a video out on him as well. Someone that Jahmyr Gibbs was raving about in his press conference. So
was he? I didn't see that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Pretty cool. Lastly, at tight end,
the most obvious.
If you guys don't know who the tight end for the Chiefs is, his name is Travis Kelce. Last year, I'll just let that speak for itself. Led tight ends in targets, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Likely taken in the first round of your draft, so you're going to be starting him. I think you can expect 15 points at least from him, probably more. Guy you love to have on your team. Guy you took a very high pick on.
Defenses. Kansas City actually had the number 8 overall defense in fantasy last year. 2nd in sacks. Don't start either of them. Kansas City, like we said, with Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones out, that pass rush is going to be very questionable. I already said this earlier in the video, guys. Detroit's strength is their offensive line, and right now Kansas City's weakness is looking like their defensive line. So that's a big thing to watch, not only for fantasy, but I think in real life. We know games are typically won in the trenches. We're saying don't start either of them. 2 high-flying offenses going at it. And we'll be bringing you our defenses that we like and don't like in our Sunday preview, so that'll be coming out here soon.
Don't start these ones. Yeah. Keep an eye out for who we actually do recommend later on in the week. For kickers, we got Harrison Butker and Riley Patterson. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe Harrison Butker was the kicker number 1 last year. He's going to see volume. He was one of the top guys. I don't know which one.
He always is.
And then Riley Patterson for the Lions. We expect to see a high-scoring game. I don't see any reason not to start him. Both of these guys I like.
I would say just to give us a season-long kind of projection thing, both of these guys I definitely like. We don't ever talk about kickers or defenses really. You can pick up a guy like Riley Patterson who's going to be on a high-flying offense. No one's looking at the Detroit kicker. They're looking at a big name like Harrison Butker. Week 1, you get a kicker, Riley Patterson, on a high-flying offense in a great matchup. He should give you 7 points, and that's what I typically look for in my kickers. I'm cool with starting both of them. I think they should both be started.
That's it for the fantasy outlook. We also did want to add in a little bit of our thoughts on the game, maybe a score prediction. I'm thinking 35-30, somewhere in that range. Obviously going to the Chiefs. They are pretty much an unstoppable force. They've proven to me again and again why they are the best.
Yes.
And I am to the point now where I can't deny it. If you see greatness, you have to respect it. I'm not a Chiefs fan by any means, but I'm never going to talk bad about them because they're just great. And we're watching history here. I think Mahomes ends up top 5 quarterback all time. Certainly Kelce. Top 5 tight end all time as well.
I mean, when you have Mahomes, Kelce, and then Big Red, my guy Andy Reid, operating on your team, dude, you're destined for greatness. But I'm going to go – I was thinking about this last night. I'm going to go 33-30. in favor of Kansas City. I think this is going to be a tighter game than expected. I think we're going to see a lot of back and forth. I'm high on Detroit this year, as are many people. I think they're going to be strong. I think they're going to look good. Again, guys, watch that action in the trenches. I think that's where a lot of games are decided. We like to think, especially in fantasy, we like to think, receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, but guys, offensive line and defensive line are where games are determined, where games are won. I don't think Detroit is that much of a sleeper pick in terms of winning, but I do think Kansas City pulls this one out.
Cool. So that's our thoughts on the game. Our predictions. We had pretty similar predictions. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Comment down below if you have any questions about anything we just said, or if you'd like to interact with us. We like to go back and forth with you guys, get your thoughts on what we're saying, ways to improve the content, any of that type of stuff.
We'll be bringing you guys content like this for all the Sunday matchups here soon, and the same with the Monday night. So if you like this format, let us know. The season is upon us.
Season's here. Peace.